We've got a bunch of trades to dive into today, and a lot of this is going to be broken up into separate videos because I feel like these trades are all big enough that they justify being spoken about separately. The New Jersey Devils have made themselves a move, sending Simon Nemec over to the Calgary Flames. Yeah, that's right. Nemec had grown frustrated with the Devils organization and was looking for a change of scenery. He was looking for over $9 million a year, according to reports, perhaps a bit too rich for New Jersey. Nemec needs a contract for this upcoming season, so I'd say it's probably likely the Flames are going to give him that contract. 22 years old, 6'1", 190, a right-handed defenseman, drafted second overall by the New Jersey Devils. You know the story by now. The Devils didn't want a center in 2022's NHL Entry Draft. It's why they passed on Cooley and Wright, despite those two guys being ranked at the top of the board at the time. Simon Nemec went second overall instead, much to the surprise of pretty much everybody that was paying attention to that NHL Draft season. But Simon Nemec ended up with 26 points this previous season in 68 games played, a really big step up from the production he had had the year beforehand. He also had himself a few really notable standout games, including an overtime hat trick winning game too. That was absolutely outstanding. You take a look at what happened on that very fateful day for Simon Nemec. That game was a 4-3 win against Chicago, where Nemec scored the overtime winner, which also happened to be a hat trick goal. That was probably the best game of his life up to that point. And what? He took that momentum, was able to get a few more points here and there, and then he became trade bait. Now he's a Calgary Flame. The trade return goes as follows. Nemec and Tsyplakov to Calgary in exchange for a second from New York this year, Vegas's 2027 first, Colorado's 2028 first, and Etienne Morin. If the Vegas and or Colorado picks slide, they lose their top 10 protection. X-Tech says, is Calgary okay? But another reply says, hey, this is actually a good trade for Calgary. Now, I'll just go out there and say this as well. The other asset coming over to the Flames, Maxim Tsyplakov, this is a guy that we actually did make a video about once upon a time, a long time ago as well. Tsyplakov is 27 years old, 6'3", 190, a left-handed right-wing player, signed till the end of 2027, making $2.2 million a year. Tsyplakov was interesting because he was a KHL free agent that wanted to come over to North America and start his NHL career. He did so with the Islanders in the 24-25 season, getting 35 points in 77 games. Not bad for somebody that was fresh off of the Russian KHL system. However, this previous season, Tsyplakov only had 2 points in 27 Islanders games. He got sent over to New Jersey, had 2 points in 22 New Jersey games. This production absolutely sucks compared to the production he had the year prior. So Tsyplakov is going to come over to Calgary. Hopefully he's able to be given a top role with the team. He was used to being a top guy in Russia. He ended up getting decent minutes with the Islanders in his first season, but everything fell apart this previous campaign. At 27 years old, you would assume that Tsyplakov is in the prime of his career, so the Calgary Flames, they're putting their chips on the table. They want to see themselves what they could get out of Tsyplakov whilst getting a young, potential top-pair right-handed defenseman of the future in the deal as well. They're going to have to sign him, but that's okay. They're willing to do this, and in exchange, they are getting themselves a pretty good piece for their future. Going over the other way to New Jersey, though, 2 first-round picks, a second, and Etienne Morin. Now, Morin is a guy that I actually thought was pretty interesting as well. Wasn't really expecting to see him get traded today, but hey, weirder things have happened. Morin is a Moncton Wildcats guy who was pretty okay in the QMJHL this most recent season. Maybe wasn't the most productive guy in the world, but he was still there. This previous campaign, he had split the year between the AHL and the ECHL. Wasn't too productive in either league, though, so that's not necessarily great. He's 21 years old, 6'1", 185, a left-handed defenseman who was drafted by the Calgary Flames, second round, 2023. Mobile, physical defender, but definitely a guy who needs a little bit more work transitioning to the pro game of the American Hockey League. But Morin is going to be sent over to New Jersey, hopefully bridging that gap into higher levels of play. And if he could be some sort of a Simon Nemec replacement long term, I'd say the Devils would be really happy with that. Nemec, of course, right-handed defenseman. Morin, left-handed defenseman. It's a little different there. Also, Morin wasn't a second overall pick. But still, this is one of the main assets that New Jersey is receiving, along with a second, a first, and a first, with various levels of protection. Man, the Calgary Flames have just been acquiring first-round picks like crazy. Admittedly, these are not going to be great first-round picks. It's Vegas and Colorado. Even in 2027, 2028, you can't really be too sure that either of these two teams are going to be bad. It's not like they're getting any lottery picks tossed in there after all, right? But Calgary is receiving a pretty valuable piece in Nemec, plus a could-be-valuable forward option in Tsyplakov. This is what the Who Would Accept trade feature looks like, courtesy of capwages.com. They say here that for the New Jersey Devils, this trade gives them a strong futures haul, but they are giving up a 22-year-old right-shot RFA defenseman already producing decently in the NHL. A profile that is extremely hard to replace. Unless they are retooling more deeply or have internal concerns about Nemec, they likely hold out for a more premium first-round pick or simply refuse to move him at all. Meanwhile, for the Calgary Flames, CapWages says that this is a 63% accept trade for Calgary. Nemec fits as a long-term top-pair right D for a rebuilding Flames team, and they can afford his upcoming RFA deal. But surrendering 2 firsts, a second, and a young left-handed defenseman prospect is a massive outlay of future value for a club that just finished near the bottom of the league. Management might be considered, and they might be tempted to look in at this deal, but the price is high enough that they would hesitate and likely try to reduce the pick cost or substitute a lesser prospect. Lesser prospect? Etienne Morin was in the ECHL this year. I don't think you can really get to less than that. Mike, thank you so much for your subscription over here on the channel whilst we are recording this video. If you're a Devils fan, you can let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about this trade return? Are you satisfied with 2 first-round picks, a second, and Etienne Morin? Giving up on Tsyplakov, I don't think y'all really care about that too much. The guy had 2 points for you. He wasn't really that good. And then you're also giving up on Simon Nemec, a guy that everybody thought had a good chance to get traded anyway. This is the return, though. 2 late firsts, a second, and a prospect in Morin. Thoughts in the comment section. How do you feel about the return? If you're a Calgary Flames fan, how do you feel about giving up all this stuff to get Nemec? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. We got to make our video on that Jordan Kyrou trade, as well as that William Eklund trade. That's coming up on the channel next. And bye.